Hello, everyone. I moved to Lincoln City 18 years ago from City of Portland, I'm a girl, like that, as a lifestyle change, and haven't left because I love lifestyle. And so currently I'm Public Works Director and City Engineer for the City of Lincoln City. And today I'm going to talk about our water source protection grants, kind of our history when we started and the progress that we've made as a city. When Laura first asked me to do a presentation, I was like, oh, okay, but I didn't think there was anything that remarkable or compelling or interesting about what we've done. But I said, okay, that we have done a lot of things. So I gotta fix this thing on here.
I think I'm driving it. Sorry.
Okay, I'm sorry. So I went into the files and got together the hard files and electronic files of all of these grants and all this work we've done. And I was like, I really need artificial intelligence right now to just come and swoop this up and put it in a PowerPoint that shows chronological sense and what we did with what and da-da-da. But it wasn't as straightforward as that. So with the help of Laura, we kind of pieced together really what our history was. And it was a good exercise for me to go through because when you're in it or you're not the main player, in my case I wasn't, you just don't really realize what's going on. And so we've got a good history, and we're building on that history, so I'm going to go through that today. So the way the presentation is going to, I'm going to present it is giving an overview of the Schooner Creek watershed, which is Lincoln City's only water source. Some of the findings from our 2016 source water assessment plan, which was our jumping off point. The grants we received, our accomplishments, and the next step, or lessons and next steps. So a little bit about the watershed. It's a little under 10,000 acres. 70% roughly is managed by the Siuslaw National Forest, and the remaining 2,800 acres are private industrial timberlands. The Lincoln City Water District serves, this slide says 7,800. This is services. We're about up to almost 8,000 services. And our population, resident population is 10,000. We have also services outside the city limits. Roughly 10,000 to 12,000 is our low flow or our low demand time. But as all of you know, being coasties, during the summer, things blow up, and we have an equivalent, about a 40,000 population that we serve based on our demand equivalent. This is from the source protection, the water source assessment maps from DEQ's site. It shows, so here's Lincoln City, and this is Kernville, Lincoln Beach Water District. They share, their intake, their water source is Drift Creek. This is Schooner Creek. Over here is Siletz. This is City of Siletz River, Siletz River, City of Siletz, and others use Siletz River. You'll see that we have another intake, I should say, on the Drift Creek. That is because in the 70s, I think 72 or something like that, we had a complete landslide that completely blocked the Schooner Creek flow from reaching the plant. It took a long time to open it back up. When it did, it was very muddy. And so at that time, we pursued an emergency water right on Drift Creek just in case the same situation happened. It was a lot of money for an emergency right. But a lot of times people will think that we have an extra, we have another source, and we don't. We just have the one. We don't have any connections or interties with Kernville. Now, this is a map of the watershed ownership, and you'll see that, yes, Siuslaw National Forest is the largest owner. Along the main stem, these guys are mostly private. So that's really where our that's really the ownership, and most of it is private for us in terms of what's really affecting our watershed. So from the source water assessment, again, it was, it's amazing to me, I know there's never enough that the state does, but the source water assessment plans really give you a very good starting point, the basics of what your watershed is, and tells you the potential of what you should look at for your contamination sources. And we have very high, the red is streams with high erosion potential. So you see most of our streams are high erosion potential. It's a very steep watershed. And that was, again, out of the water assessment. So that report was completed in 2016, a DEQ and Oregon Health Authority, and they identified our potential contaminant sources. Clear cuts, road densities, stream crossings, and slide areas. So we've got roughly 10 miles of county roads. This is going to make sense when I'm talking about roads in a minute. The black here is the county road. It runs along the bank of Schooner Creek. Then numerous logging roads. All the yellow is digitized, you think logging roads. Another thing to know is the intake is at River Mile 3. The road, Schooner Creek Road, is paved to River Mile 4.3 or 4.6. So it's really mostly gravel upstream from the source. So this is a laundry list of the grants we received over the years. Most of them were Source Protection Fund grants coupled with Drinking Water Provider Partnership grants. Then we also, in 1819, we had both of those grants, as well as a Sayusla Collaborative Watershed Restoration Program. We had, that was sort of a matching, because when we applied for the other two, and when we received the other two, when we applied for Sayusla, they could see that we had a good plan going, but we needed this other $50,000 to really complete our project request. Then again, we went back to the same 1-2 punch, Source Protection Fund, Drinking Water Providers Partnership, and that was phase, okay, let me go back. So first one, Schooner Creek Sediment Reduction Plan. We looked at, okay, we know sediment is a risk. Let's develop a plan on how to tackle it. And then with the next two phases were implementation phases. And then currently today, we applied for an Oregon Health Authority Source Protection Fund grant, again, where we're working on our drinking water protection plan. Okay. So here's, from our story, probably everyone too. I feel like I'm a little bit preaching to the choir here, but I'm going to continue. All these grant applications from to 21 were all prepared by our Salmon Drift Creek Watershed Council. Without the energy, you can hear Fran's passion, Paul Caton, the same passion, and very skilled, committed staff, members of that Watershed Council who did all of these applications. Now, the city did, of course, we did the paperwork. We set up the disbursement things, and we do the reporting, and there's the paperwork that bureaucrats like me were pretty good at. So that was the part we did. That was my little part, and the Watershed Council did all of the heavy lifting. Since the Watershed Council moved on, Paul retired, Fran moved on, and we kind of disbanded. And thank goodness, Mid-Coast Watershed Council is absorbing us, and Mike. So we were new to the Mid-Coast Watershed Council, and so we went ahead as a city and hired GSI, who's our go-to consultant, to do our grant writing. So they wrote the grant for our source protection plan, and I think it was only $2,500. I don't think, Suzanne, you even used that all, and so it was very well money spent. We got 35,300. The other grant writing aspect I want to bring up, because I don't know if it happens, well, this is what is happening for us. Once you find a good consultant, once you find a good contractor, once you find a good team to do the work you're going after, you want to keep them. And the first grant we went after, the first time we went out for a request for proposals, and we did get one proposal from Cutthroat Country Consulting. But it was a lot of work, as you guys know, to put together a proposal. So we loved them, and next grant was over $25,000. You have to at least get 3 proposals, or attempt to get 3 proposals. And what I did is just say, I'm going to do a sole source justification, which is a process that's allowed through the ORS, the Oregon Revised Statutes. And in my case, I have a city manager who gets it, and a city council who understands we're not, going rogue. We're just wanting to keep with this consistency, and there's a reason why no other firm or no other group of contractors is going to be able to meet our needs. And then also the grant writers appreciate that too. They were fine with it as long as we went through the public process. We had to show them the documentation, we were approved and all that. So that's just another thing to keep in mind. Don't just keep going out for proposals if you've got a team. The categorical exclusions are there for a reason. And then so again, I didn't even realize we did this, but what the Watershed Council did and helped us is we leveraged our funds because we had a real logical we didn't look at everything that was wrong with our watershed. We focused on the sediment reduction. We did a robust plan of how we were going to tackle it. A lot of inventorying and analysis and report writing by John Sanchez with Cutthroat. And so by the time we went back for the phases 2 and 3 for the implementation, it was really telling a story. And I think it was easy for us to be competitive with our grants because we said, okay, we've already done this work. Now we're going to do this work. By the way, when you say you're going to do something, you want to do it because you're not going to get more grants if you don't complete your first set of work, which we did successfully too, again, with the entire help from the Watershed Council. So here's some pictures, kind of get a feel of what I'm talking about. This is a road, a gravel road that runs along the creek. These are all logging hills, and then here's the creek right here. So that's kind of consistent throughout. Got, again, here's our sediment. Every time it rains, things come. Hey, I'm not sure on this. There we go. So it rains, comes down, goes into the road, and the county, I'll talk about that later, what happens then. So here was the findings, summary of the findings from the reduction project analysis that John did. We have rutted turnouts. We've got perched culverts, a lot of erosion going on here. We've got these blowouts. We've got bare soils, steep slopes, cut slopes right along the edge of the road, and then clear cut nation. I think it's important to understand that why sediment in our case is so important and what the real world effects that it has. And I'm not talking about nature sediment, I'm talking about the sediment that's produced by man's activity, human activity. So as more sediment that's supposed to be coming down on other bedload materials carried downstream, it settles around our intake streams. It accumulates, and then it creates a smaller area for the intake, which increases the velocity and threatens fish. The second issue is the settling of the sediment once it gets into the intake line between the screens and the raw water pumps decreases the capacity of the pipe, which decreases the amount of water available for treatment. And then we also have much higher chemical demands created by the turbid water. We have clarifiers and filters to remove our finer particles, and these events plug the basins. They can decrease operational time by 60%. It also adds to the amount of drinking water, treated water that we need to clean the plant. So it goes up from 72,000 gallons per day to over 250 plus if we've got these large sediment loads that are coming down. So during a normal year, and I say normal year, again, you expect a stream to get, heavy rain, it's gonna turn brown, that's, it's nature, could be. And so in a natural setting, we generate about 60 cubic yards of settled solids, and that's what we dry, so that's how much we get at the plant. But in a year where we have multiple of these events, we can have up to 200 cubic yards or more of solids. So again, it's the cost of the, treating the water and cost of the plant that really,
Yeah, it's got a mind of its own. Okay, good.
Wait.
okay. So back to, I talked about the sources before, but most, and this was this was very eye-opening, most of the stream sediment entering the creek is from the debris that occurs when the material comes down to the road, and the county's main charge is to get the road clear. And so they clear the road and they side cast. And so here's the creek and here's the rut. And so this continues to just feed the creek with all of this debris all winter long. So back to the plan that was put together by Cutthroat Country Consulting. And another thing I want to say is, John Sanchez has a ton of experience. I can't remember his resume. But the other people who were on this was Douglas Shank, who was a retired U.S. Forest Service geologist. Joe Acosta is a U.S. Forest Service zone engineer. We had Paul Caton from the Watershed Council. I'm sure Fran was involved too, but Paul was boots on the ground during this project. They walked every inch and did a lot of assessment work. But they obviously focused on the gravel stretch that runs upstream. And so here's all the things we accomplished with all of those grants. Pretty kind of in order. Once we did the plan, we prioritized our perch culverts. We added 3 new culverts because they were undersized or non-existing where they needed to be just across the road. We added a lot of dissipators to our culverts because a lot of it was just, the perch ones are just, feeding there was no energy, so it was just taking the riverbank down to putting sediment in. These can make a lot of difference too. We also hauled all that stuff on the side, which turned out to be over 1,000 cubic yards, to a permanent storage site. We sloped to drain and rocked 4 of the traffic turnouts. We did ditch cleaning. We hardened 4 of the turnouts where we could, where it was still asphalt. And here's a big key, which to me was just a miracle. So we worked with the county. They're like, well, we have to side cast because we don't have any place to take this material. And we can't put it in a dump truck and take it 20 miles when we have, all these roads to clean after every, major event. So John brokered essentially a deal with 2 private forest companies who are decommissioning their logging roads. And the Minsky site and Hancock site were both prepared with about half an acre with gravel and a suitable and a very good access from Schooner Creek Road so the county could go and dump their spoils close. And another thing we did, we were talking about purchase, we were, this was, I don't know, we purchased 156 acres with, it was relatively mature trees. And that was a foreclosed acre plot, parcel, was foreclosed on, zoned by the county. We ended up paying full market value for it. So I don't know how that happened, but we didn't get a bargain for it, but we did buy it. And for some reason, I think at the time we just thought, oh, it's county. It's, you know, plus it was strategically 7 miles, a river mile 7, and oh shoot, let me see. Okay, I'm going to talk about. So it also straddles the creek. So we got upstream, and then we have also, that parcel also straddles the creek. So it was a nice piece to get. This is the upstream view of it. And so here's another example of what we did after, of a culvert example of it was undersized culvert, really washing, creating too much velocity, and so we did better culverts. Now, I guess the thing about creating these sites is
Stephanie, you're.
are you guys
So sorry.
are you guys moving me?
Stephanie,
Okay.
the slides are moving
Okay.
here and not on your
Okay,
computer.
I'm moving my slides. Okay, so let me go.
If you want to, you have to share your screen. I'm sorry.
Okay, that's all right. Just
Which-
never mind.
which
We'll
one
just-
are you looking
We'll
for?
just stay here.
I don't want to.
I didn't realize that, so
Do you
sorry
want
about
to
that.
just share your screen? I'm sorry for the.
No, that's okay. It's really, I'm almost done, so it's okay. You guys got it. You can remember.
Sorry.
So we built, so we built these, and they were about $10,000 a piece, and it was a ton of work because, you know, you're working with private property owners. I would have not known how to do this. John did this. He worked with the county. There was an agreement, an MOU. The county agreed to use these, and everything was yay good. Then the first event, and the county site casts. And you know, I did almost want to cry on that because I was like, what in the heck is going on? So yes, you can build it. No, they will not necessarily come, but it doesn't mean you walk away. I'm still working with the county, trying to get them to understand the importance of this, asking them maybe we could throw some resources at some events, help them with a contractor to get up there and get this stuff so it doesn't go, you know, there's ways to do it, but it's hard. One of the lessons is it's hard to change practices, and we talked about this. We're beholden to, we don't own the watershed, nor the road, which we'll never own. Well, probably not. And so you are beholden to others, the property owners, and the behaviors and the practices that go on. So it's not a one and done. You can do a lot of projects. We still need the road graded properly. We still need those culverts cleaned out and washed. We still need to make sure those energy dispensations are still in play. So we've got a lot of work to do with partnering with our county public works department. Another lesson, I'll start at the tops of the slide. Yeah, begin with the highest priorities. That's what we did anyway, and it really worked out well. And we told, again, we had a big master, we had a plan of what we were gonna do, and then we just went at it every other year. Of course, these grants are only given every other year. We applied because we got the work done, and we were, and I say we, I just love that. It's like we, I did some paperwork, and the Watershed Council and the contractors and the consultants did all of the other work. And so that's where the partnership comes in. It's a real life thing. It's not like the city has money for source protection. We are mandated for how we clean the water and how we treat the water at the wastewater plant. Those are mandates. We do have money for that. But again, as we've talked about, source water protection is kind of out there. It needs money. There's no budget item for it. But you continue, so that's what we did. And I'm just gonna mention this again, hire good people, get lucky like we did, and keep them. That goes for the contractors too. We had some contractors, they're not making boat payments of putting in culverts. I mean, it's a very difficult type of construction. There's only certain companies that will do it. we've got all the permitting requirements, all the oversight, a lot of work, and so it's just really neat that you have, it's just a certain type of, my experience anyway, certain type of groups of people, including contractors. And just keep them, just make sure that they know how much they're appreciated. It sounds corny, but that's what we did. And then, of course, like I said, continue to build partnerships, continue to build relationships. It's not a once and done situation. So where we are today, next, is we are poised to complete our 2024 drinking water protection plan. That's when we're to get it done. GSI is our consultant. So that work is ongoing, continues, is in practice right now. I guess you guys didn't, I was probably like all over the map, because I was looking at my screen, so apologies on that. What we're doing now, and this was an inspiration from last year, I told you guys, is we're developing a strategy for pursuing land acquisition and conservation easement opportunities or other options, strategies. And so rather than wait for a grant or another 2-year cycle, because we're still working on our source protection plan, we went ahead and I asked last year for, at the council and the budget committee for $30,000 to come out of water operations. And, you know, I really didn't have to do, I set it up a little bit and explained what we were using this for, and it was, there's enough awareness that the city council and the budget committee said, yes, take that $30,000. So what we're done with that is we're working on just finalizing a contract with GSI. They're subbing to McKenzie River Trust. And we're gonna start looking at developing a strategy for pursuing land acquisition, conservation, easement opportunities, and the like. And then we're gonna do some conducting landowner research, or outreach, I mean, research and outreach. So those are the two big components, and we feel like we'll get that going. At the same time, we'll have our source protection plan, draft, at least final draft done in May, or I'm sorry, March. And then we possibly will be positioned then to apply for, you know, a grant in May, in March. So this last slide, this blew my mind, and this was out of the source protection plan work. This last slide, oh, go down to the next slide. Is, no, next one, yeah. So we're working on our drinking water protection plan. These are all of the people, and this is the value of Zoom, or one of the values. I mean, it really does help us get together. Of course, GSI, Mid-Coast Watershed Council, Solon Water Conservation District, U.S. Forest Service, Bureau of Land Management, DEQ, Oregon Water Resources, Department of Forestry, yes, I am listing all of these, Fish and Wildlife, Oregon Health Authority, Confederated Tribes of the Siletz Indians, which we have partnered, we are partners on some transportation projects, so we already had a good relationship. Oh, one reason why we have a good relationship with them. Our Lincoln County Commissioners are at the table. McKenzie River Trust, thank you, is at the table. We have private and forest management companies and Weyerhaeuser. So these are just, it just blew my mind, our first meeting, and people, you know, I just realized this is going to be, this is something that touches all of us, that we have passion about, and you're just not alone. I don't feel alone. Obviously, if I was alone, none of this would have happened. So with that, I'll just take some questions.